I always thought peace had a sound. The slow creak of my wooden bridge, the splash of trout in the creek below the wind, brushing through the pines, it was my kind of quiet. 15 years that bridge carried nothing heavier than my pickup truck and a few neighborhood kids on their bikes. But one morning, peace broke. I heard the deep roar of a cement truck, and when I stepped outside, there she was, Karen Peterson, our HOA president, behind the wheel, waving like she owned the place. The bridge trembled under her tires, mud swirled in the water, and I could feel my blood boiling. I yelled that she was trespassing, and she just smirked. "Then maybe you should build a stronger bridge, Mike." That was the moment I knew this wasn't about concrete. It was about control. When I bought my cabin in Ironwood 15 years ago, I built that bridge with my own hands. Miguel and I spent weeks measuring, digging, sealing planks in the sun while my golden retriever watched from the bank. It wasn't just wood, it was a promise that I could come home without asking anyone's permission. But promises mean nothing to people who crave power. When the HOA formed 2 years ago, I didn't object. I even paid my dues. It seemed harmless at first, $50 a year for beautification. But committees like that grow like ivy, slow, polite, and choking if you let them. And Karen, she became president the way a thunderstorm becomes trouble suddenly and everywhere. She had a clipboard, a smile that meant trouble, and a favorite phrase for the community. The first letter I got from her said, "Courtesy reminder." It accused me of violating front setback regulations. She even attached a photo of my canoe rack, 20 feet inside my property line. I sent her my county survey thinking that would settle it. She replied with a smiley face and wrote, "We'll discuss at the next board meeting." That meeting felt like stepping into a trap. Karen had a laminated map, wrong scale, wrong everything, showing my bridge as a community access point. She tapped it with her pen and said, "As you can see, the approaches provide ingress and egress to HOA amenities." I held up my stamped survey and said, "As you can see, Karen, the West Bank lies entirely within my property. The county easement ends 50 feet before the creek." She smiled that politician smile, the one that says, "We'll pretend to consider your opinion, then do what we want." 2 weeks later, a cement truck rolled across my boards, rattling every nail I'd ever driven. They were headed to a future tennis complex which no one had voted for. I sunk a cedar post at the approach and hung a sign, "Private bridge. 5-ton limit. Trespassers will be prosecuted." By lunchtime, the chain was cut, the sign was gone. In its place, a pastel notice read, "Non-compliance. Unauthorized restrictive device." The kind of polite threat people like her write when they think they're untouchable. Neighbors started picking sides. Hannah from 2 doors down texted, "I'm with you." Darren from the cul-de-sac posted online, "Bridges are meant to be crossed. Don't be selfish." Miguel came over, shook his head, and said, "They're bold." I answered, "No, they're bored. Bold gets you a statue. Bored gets you stupid." Then came the second truck. I stood on the bridge and held up my hand. Karen was in the passenger seat wearing those giant sunglasses that could double as riot shields. "You're over the weight limit," I said. She rolled her window down, smiled, and said, "This is a community project, Mike. You're obstructing progress." I pointed to the sign. "You're 3 times the limit." She shrugged. That sign wasn't approved by the board. And I told her the bridge wasn't either. She rolled the window up and the driver kept going. The boards hummed under the weight. The railing quivered. The truck made it across, but I saw one plank crack, just a hairline split in the sun. Not failure, a warning. That night I sat by the creek with a flashlight, checking bolts and joists. Everything was sound, but something in me wasn't. I started wondering if maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was being difficult. It's a stupid thought, but that's how these people get you inch by inch, letter by letter, until you start doubting what you know is right. I almost gave up. Almost. Then I found the notice she taped to my post-pink paper this time, "Final warning." And at the bottom it read, "Failure to comply will result in escalating fines." That was the moment I stopped doubting, because nothing fuels resolve like arrogance. The next morning I called Miguel. "You busy?" I asked. He laughed. "For you, never." "What did she do now?" I told him everything. He listened quiet, then said, "You want me to fix it, or you want me to teach her a lesson?" I said both. We unrolled the old blueprints on my workbench. "See this section here," I said, pointing to the midspan. "If I remove these 4 bolts, the load shifts entirely to the outer beams. Still safe under 10 tons, but anything heavier." Miguel finished my sentence. "And the bridge flexes." He looked at me. "You're not trying to hurt anyone, right?" I smiled. "No. Just letting physics do what HOA meetings never could." By dusk, the bridge looked the same, but it wasn't. Hidden beneath those planks was a lesson waiting to be learned. I installed 2 motion-triggered cameras, one under the deck, one on the far bank. Evidence doesn't lie. 2 days later it happened. Karen arrived with her cement trucks again, clipboard in hand, barking orders. I watched from my porch, coffee in one hand, tablet in the other. The first truck rolled forward. The boards flexed, creaked, held. Then the second one followed. Halfway across there was a sharp metallic snap. The midspan dipped just enough for the driver to panic, slam the brakes, and tilt the drum forward. Cement poured out like gray lava, splashing into the creek. The driver cursed. Karen screamed, "You're done, Mike. You're going to jail." When the police arrived, I didn't say a word. The officer read the sign, 5-ton limit, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, he's within his rights. This is private property." Karen's face turned pale. "But it's a community route," she shouted. The officer asked, "Do you have documentation of that silence?" I showed the video. Clear as daylight, truck over limit sign visible. The officer nodded. "Seems pretty clear to me." Karen tried to salvage her clipboard, slipped and fell ankle-deep in cement. Neighbors laughed. Pride weighs more than concrete, I thought. By sunset, someone had uploaded the footage online. The title read, "HOA President's Cement Truck Sinks on Private Bridge. Instant Karma." Within a day, it hit 100,000 views. Memes flooded the internet. Gravity 1, bureaucracy 0. Karen wasn't done. She sent me a cease and desist letter, Comic Sans font, CC'd the sheriff, the county, and somehow the local garden club. I printed it and stuck it on my fridge like a trophy. Then she tried to fine me $25,000 for damaging community property. I told her property damage to my own property. "That's new," she said. "As president, I can assess penalties for actions that harm the community's value." I replied, "Then maybe fine yourself for flooding the creek with cement." One of her own officers snorted, trying not to laugh. That night she declared war. Drones hovered over my house. HOA posts accused me of sabotage, and she even went on local TV claiming I endangered lives. But when the county inspector arrived, he took one look at my permits and said, "Everything checks out." 10 minutes later, Karen came storming down, screaming. The inspector told her, "Bridge looks solid to me, ma'am." By then, the internet had crowned her Cement Karen. Memes, remixes, reaction videos. It was beautiful chaos. The HOA board started to fracture. Thomas, one of the older members, visited me quietly. "You're not the villain here," he said. "She's overstepped. People are tired." But Karen doubled down. Flyers with my photo labeled me a danger to the community. Someone egged my mailbox. I laughed. HOA-approved eggs, probably. Then one night I got a call from Jacob, the HOA treasurer. "Karen's been editing maps," he whispered. "She moved the property line 50 feet onto your land." He sent me the originals. Clear as day forgery. I sent them straight to my lawyer, Lisa Barrett. Her reply came fast. "Perfect. Don't show anyone yet. We'll use it when it hurts most." Weeks later, court day came. Karen strutted in wearing her power blazer and that fake confidence people wear before they fall. Her lawyer talked about reckless endangerment, community safety, all the usual noise. Then Lisa stood. Calm, precise, dangerous. "Your Honor," she said, "this isn't about safety, it's about entitlement." The HOA repeatedly trespassed, ignored posted limits, and falsified property documents. We showed the video, the truck, the snap, the splash. The courtroom chuckled. Karen's lawyer tried to object, but the judge wasn't buying it. Then Lisa pulled out the 2 maps, the original and the forged one. The judge compared them. "Mrs. Peterson," he said slowly, "this alteration is illegal." Karen stammered. I didn't enough," the judge said. "This court finds in favor of Mr. Carter. All HOA claims dismissed. Possible document tampering to be reviewed." The gavel hit. Karen's face drained of color. Her lawyer deflated beside her. Outside, reporters swarmed. "Any comment, Mr. Carter?" I smiled. Never underestimate a well-built bridge. I could have stopped there, but Karen called one last emergency HOA meeting. I went not to argue, to finish it. She started with her usual speech about incomplete evidence and protecting the community. Then I plugged in a flash drive. On the screen appeared an official federal permit. Private Access Corridor License, U.S. Department of Transportation, 2006. "This," I said, "is a federal exemption. The bridge and the creek beneath it are private property outside HOA jurisdiction." Gasps filled the room. Thomas stood. "Karen, you used HOA funds, $40,000, for a lawsuit you had no authority to file." Someone shouted, "Is that why our streetlights don't work?" The room erupted. Karen tried to yell over them. "You think you've won, Mike? You're just one man with a bridge." I looked right at her and said, "You're right. But that bridge carried the truth and you drove right over it." The board voted. Unanimous. Karen was removed as president. She stood frozen, trembling, no words left to twist. She gathered her papers and stormed out. No cameras, no applause, just the sound of her heels fading into the hallway. That's where I ended it. No victory parade, no celebration, just quiet. The kind of quiet I'd missed for months. The creek flowing steady, the bridge standing strong, and me finally able to breathe again. Because in the end it wasn't about revenge. It was about boundaries, about how silence isn't weakness, how standing your ground doesn't mean shouting, it means knowing what's yours and refusing to let anyone rewrite it. Sometimes justice doesn't need a hammer, it just needs a little weight.